Andrew Carnegie's cherished vision of world peace, there was no greater challenge than a century dominated by war. Yet the century ended with a renewed hope that his vision would be realized. Quote, "The abolition of international war, the foulest blot on our civilization." September 11th, 2001. A new and devastating threat. Catastrophic terrorism threatens to shatter Mr. Carnegie's vision once again.
September 11th has radically altered the way we think about the world and how we can be in the world. It sets us back very badly. But you have to understand that the outpouring of philanthropy, not just from institutions and foundations, but from individuals, is unprecedented. I think we will see a renewal of philanthropy with hope, the same kind of hope that Andrew Carnegie always had.
Andrew Carnegie, recognizing there would be problems he could not foresee at the turn of his century, created organizations and institutions designed to meet the challenges of the future.
I think he said it best in his deed of gift to Carnegie Corporation. Conditions on the earth inevitably change. Thus, no wise man would bind his trustees forever to one path, one cause, or one institution. So he did provide great flexibility. He understood that what he cared about and how he focused his philanthropy might not be the most important way to do it in the future. And that's why, at the end of the century, 100 years later, we have a vision that is still vibrant.
Carnegie trusts and institutes continue to serve the global community through a wide spectrum of missions. Institutes that promote tolerance and understanding between nations. Charitable endowments that celebrate and preserve art, science, music, and literature. Charitable trusts that provide educational opportunities and financial support to students and teachers at educational institutions here and in Great Britain. Institutions designed to continue his philanthropic work. And hero funds in the United States and Europe that celebrate the best of the human capacity for courage and leadership. About the first of these, he wrote in 1907, "I don't believe there's a nobler fund in the world."
If Andrew Carnegie were here today, he would be holding the banner, leading the vanguard in thinking about what we do next, not in looking back and saying, this is terrible, the world has come to an end, but saying, now what do we do? I think he would cheer at the great diversity of philanthropy and the degree to which the new philanthropists, and there are many working today in our society, choose an area that they are passionate about and apply their money and their intelligence and their connections and all of their resources to trying to figure out how to make the world a better place.
Andrew Carnegie wrote in 1911, "My chief happiness as I write these lines lie in the thought that even after I pass away, the wealth that came to me to administer as a sacred trust for the good of my fellow man is to continue to benefit humanity for generations untold."
May I be the first to introduce to you the first ever Andrew Carnegie Medals of Philanthropy winners. Lenore Annenberg, Brooke Astor, Irene Diamond, William H. Gates Sr., David Rockefeller, George Soros, and Ted Turner. The story of Andrew Carnegie is of a young man full of curiosity, with a thirst for reading and for learning, coming to the United States and finding a country full of promise for him and for others. It is also the story of the man who led the venerable New York Public Library, where we meet today, and who now runs the foundation that continues to do what Mr. Carnegie called the business of benevolence. Of course, I am referring to Vartan Gregorian, who more than anyone else is responsible for bringing together this accomplished and amazing group of men and women who today are being awarded the first ever Andrew Carnegie Medals of Philanthropy. When those of us who are lucky to work with him on a regular basis think about him, we know that we are dealing with someone we admire for his intellect, we respect for his commitment and his dedication, and we love him for the great friend that he is and the passion he brings to all that he does. When Vartan first told us about this idea, he said he hoped in time that these would become the Nobel Prizes for philanthropy. Ironically, today, as you know, the Nobels are being awarded in Sweden at their centennial celebration. I think this coincidence in timing means nothing but big things for this award. So, ladies and gentlemen, the man who made today's event possible, Vartan Gregorian.
I have been in this room for many times to announce great events, great honors, literary lions, corporate lions, great lawyers, all kinds of lions. But we've never done this before. To gather from all over the world, 21 Carnegie organizations, 350 of us are here, to celebrate Andrew Carnegie, but more important than that, to celebrate his work, his vision. A maverick capitalist and intellectual who taught that those who die rich die disgraced because they did not have the imagination to invest, spend, create during their lifetime. But he also taught of something else. He taught that capitalists are trustees of public wealth, and to those to whom much is given, much is expected from. And he has built around the world, as you will hear shortly, all over the world, whether it's disease, whether it's ignorance, whether it's war. There's nothing that Andrew Carnegie was not interested in. And I'm very fortunate to have succeeded him as 12th president of Carnegie Corporation of New York, and I've hung his picture in my office. Every day I walk like Mayor Koch, I ask, how am I doing? And he's not smiling. So you can do better. You can do better. Think big. And this is one of the projects we thought big. The date was not chosen knowingly. Carnegie Hall was open only for tonight for us to celebrate Andrew Carnegie. So as a result, we did not know that today, was where Nobel laureates were being awarded in Sweden. But in my opinion, the coincidence is most fortuitous and auspicious, because these are going to be Nobel Prizes of philanthropy. I can verify, I can justify, and I can attest to it, all together, done by me. So I'll take my word for it. I also want to tell you that when we broached this idea, Maxine Singer, who was also at Jim Weinberg, what kind of celebration we'll have, we thought of the medal in the following way. There's going to be within 2 decades, $15 to $20 trillion of intergenerational wealth transferred in this country. It's important to recognize the role of philanthropy. Some 14,000 now nonprofit organizations exist in the United States, what George Soros calls civil society. 1 out of 12 Americans work for the nonprofit sector in this country. There are more people working for higher education now than steel, automobile, textile industries combined. But we have not paid as much attention to this as businesses. Annual giving in the United States is $255 billion. So philanthropy is here to stay. The most important thing is to inspire and recognize and set example in order for everybody to follow Andrew Carnegie's example, namely an individual still counts. My wife will hate me to say this because I always talk about Alexis de Tocqueville. Alexis de Tocqueville coined the term individualism to describe the American character. There was no such word before 1835. What he meant was individualism in America combines a public as well as private good. It's not selfishness like Europe, he said. It's not personality, self-centeredness, but rather it does good. And I'm delighted to tell you that that example of individualism is embodied not only in Andrew Carnegie, but all the honorees today. When I was told who will come for this medal, I said whoever we ask. And we asked the best and the greatest. The 7 families that we're honoring are standards in American history. But we also thought we would not be selfish enough just to celebrate Carnegie, but we also decided to celebrate Rockefeller family, because Carnegie and Rockefeller have together set standards for this country. And Rockefeller family has done more for this city, for this nation and the world than anybody. So in a sense, we expanded our joint. So I'm glad everybody we invited came. Some, even like George Soros, changed their plans to go to Sweden. Some, like Ted Turner and Parsons, even changed their whole board meeting for an hour or so in order for them to be here. So we'll spend the time wisely. But before that, I'd like to congratulate everyone, but also to say we don't want to launch this with a bang, the medals. We would like to launch it with a book. Because today I'd like, on behalf of my board, subject to their approval in February, to announce $2 million gift in honor of our honorees for the public libraries of the cities from which they come from, in order to buy books, books and books. That's the best way we can do justice to New York and all the other cities. And the last thing I will mention, I mentioned to trustees this morning, we debated whether to cancel this event, postpone it, and we decided no. New York cannot postpone anything. New York will go forward. This nation will go forward. We're not born in adversity, even though revolution was considered by some adversity who are in this room. We were born out of dreams and ideals and action. This city, therefore, this nation will go forward, and I'm glad all of you have come to celebrate with us the determination of New York to be defiant, creative, and looking forward on behalf of our nation. Thank you very much for the honor you're bestowing upon us.
Well, by any measure, as we look around, we are in the presence of greatness today. The awardees are all leaders who share the credo of Andrew Carnegie, private wealth serving the public good. But there is one measure that is truly astounding. These 7 men and women have given to the world, by conservative estimates, at least $10 billion of their own money to institutions and causes. $10 billion for the betterment of humankind. To give these awards today, we are so privileged to have men and women of great distinction in their own right. It is wonderful to have individuals in this city of cities who need no introduction. They're known nationally and internationally, and we are grateful to them for their being here to help us honor these wonderful honorees. First, Mamphela Ramphele is a woman with a revolutionary spirit and one of those who helped to transform South Africa from a country of hateful apartheid into a multiracial modern state. In South Africa, she was Vice Chancellor of the respected University of Cape Town. She is now the first woman to hold the title Managing Director of the World Bank. To present our first award, Mamphela Ramphele.
In a book called The Open Society and Its Enemies, published at the end of the Second World War, an Austrian philosopher named Karl Popper wrote about what Western democracies stood for: ideals of justice, free choice, and free speech. The ideals in this book struck a young student named George Soros with, in his own words, the force of revelation, as he would write 50 years later. Everyone who cherishes democratic institutions recognizes the power of ideas to reshape the world. George Soros, in his career and in philanthropy in the United States and across the world, including my own native South Africa, has made the ideas of a true open society his own. It is my pleasure and honor to award George Soros an inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy. Wait, I must read your citation, please. A maverick, an intellectual, a visionary, a great American, and a great citizen of the world, George Soros. These are only a few of the extraordinary words that can be used to describe your extraordinary life and contributions to humanity. Long before the concept of open societies became a critical item on the world's agenda, you were a pioneer in advocating intellectual freedom, freedom of speech, free markets, mutually respectful and interactive international relationships, and the building of civil societies to serve as bridges between nations. Today, across the globe, many institutions have risen up as a testament to your vision and your philanthropic generosity. A network of foundations you have created operates in more than 30 countries throughout Central and Eastern Europe, the former Soviet Union, and Central Eurasia, as well as Southern Africa, Haiti, Guatemala, and the United States. These foundations are dedicated to building and maintaining the infrastructure and institutions of a truly open and free society. You have also founded other major institutions, such as the Central European University and the International Science Foundation. Through your foundations and your philanthropic ventures, you have given nearly $3 billion to create the better world that you have envisaged for all of humankind. A native of Hungary and survivor of Nazi occupation, you have championed the cause of learning and education as a way of ensuring that human beings, no matter where they are born or the struggles they must endure, have a chance to create a life of hope, peace, and security. You are a financial guru, looked up to and admired by scores of international captains of industry, as well as individual investors and financiers. You are a prolific author of books, essays, and articles. Your unique understanding of international economies and societies has enabled you to link the worlds of business and intellectual pursuits, and of culture and education, in order to help people around the globe lead more meaningful and liberated lives. Truly, you have planted the seeds of intellectual and political freedom in all corners of the globe. The fruit of that labor continues to grow in countless countries and societies, and to enrich the lives of millions of individuals, men, women, and children. For your leadership, your humanitarianism, and your vision in fostering open societies and a better life for the citizens of the world, the 21 institutions founded by the Andrew Carnegie present this wonderful inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to you with pride and admiration. Thank you.
I'm very honored to receive this award, and I'm particularly honored to have Ramphele deliver the laudation. But I feel that my work has hardly begun. September 11 poses a challenge. It's not enough to wage war on terrorism. We must also project a positive vision for the world. I have such a vision, a global open society. Recently, I have been focusing on the problems of globalization. We have global markets, but we don't yet have a global society. We can't rely on markets alone. Markets are good at wealth creation, but they are not designed to satisfy our collective needs, such as the maintenance of law and order and peace, protection of the environment, public health, and social justice. We need better and stronger international institutions to ensure the provision of these public goods on a global scale. Unfortunately, our existing international institutions have come under concerted attack from an unwitting coalition of anti-globalization activists on the far left and market fundamentalists on the far right. We need to create a new kind of coalition devoted to improving and strengthening our international institutions. I have developed a set of practical proposals around which such a coalition could coalesce. One proposal in particular, using special drawing rights, or SDRs, to finance the provision of public goods on a global scale, seems to have legs. All this is very much in the spirit of Andrew Carnegie and the Carnegie Foundations, and I feel greatly encouraged and energized by receiving this award.
Ted Turner is a citizen of the world, and he brings to that station in life a bold, entrepreneurial, restless, and generous spirit. I've been reading, as so many of us have, Theodore Rex, Edmund Morris's book about Theodore Roosevelt, and I have often pondered as I've read it late at night what a wonderful thing it would have been for these two Teds to have met each other at some point. I was struck by Theodore Roosevelt saying when he was a very young man out in the Dakota Territory, I didn't pick this quote just for the geographical location, but it did help. It is not what we have that will make us a great nation. It is in the way that we use it. That, too, is the embodiment of Ted Turner, a man who puts his money where his mouth is. It's a big mouth. It's a lot of money. And it comes from an even larger heart. Ted, if you would come forward, I'd like to read the official citation if I can. You've been honored as the man of the decade, as a prince of the global village, and even as a quintessential entrepreneur known as the swashbuckling Captain Outrageous for both yachts and industry. And today, although we are honoring you for another aspect of your remarkable achievements, your humanitarianism and your philanthropy, through the Turner Broadcasting System and the Goodwill Games dedicated to promoting world peace through the Better World Society and the Turner Tomorrow Awards, you have raised the awareness of millions of people around the globe, introducing them to each other as fellow citizens of planet Earth with the same hopes for peace, the same desire for dignity, the same need for a safe and healthy world in which to grow up and live. You have been an outspoken champion of the environment in word and deed on behalf of cleaner transportation, sustainable population growth, wilderness conservation, and greener business. Your daring path-breaking gift of $1 billion over 10 years to support the programs of the UN Foundation in the areas of women and population, children's health, the environment, and peace and security, as well as your founding of the Nuclear Threat Initiative, a foundation committed to reducing the global threat of nuclear and other weapons of mass destruction, coincides with a crucial turning point in the story of humanity. Today, when we are poised on the edge of a future that can bring either great hope or deep despair, Your efforts to improve the lives, health, and environment of all the people of the world are at the vanguard of those striving to ensure that history will record the fact that we met the challenge and turned away from anger and ignorance to embrace peace, hope, and respect for all of our fellow men. For your historic gift to the UN, for your passionate stewardship of the environment, for your commitment to reduce the worldwide threat of weapons of mass destruction, and most of all, for your personal commitment to the philanthropic ideals of Andrew Carnegie. The 21 institutions founded by Mr. Carnegie present the inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to you with pride and admiration. Ted, congratulations. There it is. You do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Vartan. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Tom. Thank the other 7 recipients today, or 6, who have been tremendous examples and inspirations for me. I really only started in a substantial way. I was a moderate giver all my life, but I didn't have any money either. You know, somebody at a college I was speaking at several years ago in the question and answer period, a college student got up and said, "What gives you more pleasure, making the money or giving it away?" I said, "Well, you have to make it before you have the opportunity to give it away." And but at any rate, the inspiration. When I started, it was only about 11 years ago. I think the first year my family foundation gave away $2.5 million, and last year, just 10 years later, we gave away close to $250 million. So we moved pretty fast. We moved pretty fast. But I would not have gotten there without reading and studying the philanthropists that went ahead. And George Soros, who just got his medal, was one of them. I said, "Here's George Soros. He made all the money himself. He's learned how to give these vast sums away." I said, "If he can give away so much, why can't I give away more than I'm doing now?" You know, so we do. It is a self-fulfilling kind of a circle because we all inspire each other to try and do better. But it's of all the things in my life, and I've had tremendous joys of seeing my family grow up and set success in both sports and business. By far, I mean, the Bible is right when it says it's more blessed to give than to receive. The philanthropic part of my life is the part that I am the proudest of, and I really want to thank everybody involved for this award and this recognition today. Thank you very much.
There are people all over the country, indeed all over the world, in debt to the Rockefeller family for the impact that its philanthropy has had on economic development, on medical progress, on civil rights, on environmental conservation, just to name a few areas. In a very real sense, I believe that when we celebrate Lawrence and David's life, we are celebrating the truest meaning of the American dream. It was the hope of the founders of our great nation that if they carved out the largest possible space for individual achievement and financial success, if they allowed people to go as far as their talents would carry them, those who prospered would not retreat into lives of luxury and leisure. Their hope was that wealth would be married to responsibility, that capital would be motivated by conscience, and that fortune would be ruled by citizenship. The founders took a very large gamble when they erased ideas of hereditary aristocracy and a settled social order based on noblesse oblige. But I submit that gamble paid off. Indeed, it paid off more richly than even the founders could foresee. It paid off in buildings like this library, in universities, museums, hospitals, parks, scholarships, laboratories, and cultural centers. And it paid off in citizens such as Lawrence and David Rockefeller and the other recipients of the inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medals of Philanthropy. If I may be permitted just a personal recollection and reflection. This is a story that David knows well and other members of the family have heard, and so I apologize to those of you who have heard it, but it does seem to me to capture the essence of what we're here about today in terms of what, at the end of the day, is the bottom line of philanthropy. How does it move societies and cultures? As Judy mentioned, when I started out coming out of law school, I was a lawyer for David's and Lauren's brother, Nelson. And after a number of years in government service, we came back to New York, and he asked me to continue in the service of the family, and in fact, he offered to make the transition back from Washington to New York to allow me to live in one of the guest houses on the family estate in Pecanico, an offer which I gratefully, and hopefully graciously as well, accepted. When I arrived, now at the time the governor did not know this, but my grandfather, my mother's father, had been the chief groundskeeper on the Rockefeller estate. And he didn't know it, and I had put that way in the back of my memory. But when I arrived, a then 70-year-old fellow named Johnny Schrober showed up at my door one day and said, you know, I heard old man Judd's, my mother's maiden name, grandson moved back on the estate. He said, is that you? I said, yeah, it is me. He said, well, when I was 16 years old and an immigrant to this country, I came here and I got a job, and your grandfather taught me everything I knew about being a groundskeeper and keeping the place up, and I just wanted to come and welcome you. I said, well, thank you, and he left. The next day he came back, he said, you know, I saw my sister, who was here back when your grandfather was running this joint, and I told her, you'll never guess what happened. Old man Judd's grandson just moved back on the estate. And she said, oh, that's nice. Is he working in the gardens? Well, the point of the story isn't so much that at that time I wasn't working in the gardens, but why? And the why, as nearly as I've been able to divine it, is because of the efforts, mostly of philanthropists and noble-minded citizens, who changed this country from a point of view of civil rights between the 1920s and 30s, when my grandfather worked on that state, and the 1970s and 80s when I lived there. These are not just deeds of good conscience, born out of some sense of trying to ease one's burdens for having accumulated so much. These deeds of philanthropy do, in fact, change the way our culture and our society unfolds. And so whenever I think about the Rockefeller family and its philanthropy, I think not only about the larger things, which you'll hear me talk about when I read David's citation, but the way in which it's affected my life personally and the lives of my children and the lives of so many others. So having said that, unfortunately, Lawrence couldn't be here with us today, but David is here to accept on both of their behalves, and I want to extend, David, to you the thanks and gratitude of all of us here assembled for the most important gift you and your brother made of all, and that is your example of citizenship. David, if you would step forward, I'll read your citation. To David Rockefeller and Lawrence Rockefeller. Today, with pride and admiration, the Carnegie family of institutions has taken the unusual step of recognizing another great name in the annals of American philanthropy, the name of Rockefeller. For it was John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie who, together at the dawn of this last century, began the business of benevolence. With the same vision and fervor that they founded their own great industrial ventures, they set the standards for philanthropy that even today serve as the guiding stars for the philanthropists and humanitarian leaders that have come after them. The contributions of the Rockefeller family are staggering in their extraordinary range and in the scope of their contribution to humankind. As Rockefeller University celebrates its own centennial, 100 years dedicated to scientific excellence for the benefit of humanity, we must also take note of the many other far-reaching benefactions of the Rockefeller clan that have literally affected the lives of millions and brought hope, education, research breakthroughs, medical advances, food programs, health care, and so much else to people in every walk of life in every corner of the globe. Through the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Rockefeller Family Fund, the creation of the University of Chicago, Spelman College, and so many other institutions and endeavors, such as the creation of Williamsburg, Colonial Williamsburg. The Rockefeller family has enriched humankind and made the name Rockefeller synonymous with generosity, excellence, and a vision of international relationships founded on mutual respect and goodwill. Perhaps the best way to honor this great family is to honor David and Lawrence Rockefeller, two of its most outstanding representatives, indeed symbols of this unparalleled family. Both of them have combined public service, civic commitment, and private philanthropy in the service of not only our own city of New York, but of the state, the nation, and the world. And while their interests may vary, they have always complemented each other in preserving our heritage and advancing knowledge. David Rockefeller, you have been a deeply dedicated philanthropist and co-steward of your family's legacy while also pursuing an extraordinary and distinguished career that has included being founder and honorary chairman of the Trilateral Commission, honorary chairman of the Americas Society, the Council on Foreign Relations, and Rockefeller University, chairman of Rockefeller University Council, chairman of the Museum of Modern Art, chairman and chief executive officer of the Chase Manhattan Bank, chairman of the bank's International Advisory Committee, author of landmark publications on the economy and banking, and founder of the New York City Partnership. Lawrence Rockefeller has long been known as a pioneer in the field of venture capital and celebrated for his deep philanthropic commitment to the environment, for which he has been admiringly called a catalyst for conservation, and to the betterment of the human condition, to cancer research and care, historic preservation, higher education, and the study of human values. Lawrence has served under 2 presidents as chairman of the Outdoor Recreation Resources Review Commission, brilliantly orchestrating an assessment of the recreation and conservation needs and wants of the American people, and has played a pivotal role in the development of several national parks through major deeds of gift, including Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, and most recently, with his late wife, the Marsh Billings Rockefeller National Historic Park in Vermont. In more than 4 decades of service to Memorial Sloan Kettering, was recognized when he received the first Alfred P. Sloan Memorial Award from the American Cancer Society. To both of you, for all of these accomplishments, for your unparalleled lives of service through philanthropy and business, and for carrying on the legacy of a remarkable family whose name is etched in the very annals of American life and American history. The 21 institutions created by Andrew Carnegie present the inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to you both with deep appreciation and esteem.
Thank you so very much, Dick Parsons, on behalf of Lawrence and myself and all of our family, for giving us this wonderful Carnegie Centennial Award, something that we will treasure and our families will treasure down through the future. I've had the privilege of serving on 1 or 2 of the Carnegie boards myself over the years, and therefore am particularly mindful of the extraordinary vision and generosity of Mr. Andrew Carnegie for the huge variety of things. I think of some 21 institutions that he created, so that I feel that our family is all the more appreciative having received this award from a family close to ours, in the sense that my grandfather and father knew one another and had respected one another greatly and performed in different ways, I think, quite remarkable things, not only in charity but in other respects. So I'm deeply grateful to all of you. The Rockefeller philanthropic tradition began almost a century and a half ago with my grandfather, John D. Rockefeller. Charitable giving and civic involvement were fundamental aspects of his character, even though he started life with very modest resources. But he had been brought up by a wonderful mother who taught him the importance of charity and of giving, even when he had very little. And these feelings were deeply ingrained and based upon very simple propositions, which were, to whom much is given, much will be expected, and everyone with opportunity must also accept responsibility. Grandfather handed on those principles to my father, John D. Rockefeller Jr., who in turn passed them on to my siblings and to me. And the next generation of Rockefellers, our children and grandchildren, I'm proud to say, continue to honor and practice these values in their own lives today in a wonderful and varied way. And I'm very proud of what they're doing. The idea that private wealth should serve the public good is at the very heart of the American democratic system. It means we all have a responsibility for the well-being of our society and all of its citizens. The overwhelming response to the human tragedy of September 11th has demonstrated its continuing strength and resilience as we confront and resolve the new and dangerous challenge which faces as a nation and as individuals. I believe that philanthropy must and will play an important role, as it has so often in the past. And so on behalf of my brother and myself and all members of our family, I thank the leadership of the Carnegie institutions which have given this award for the honor that they have bestowed on us.
The mark of the moral imagination, I learned many years ago when studying in Andrew Carnegie's home country of Scotland, the mark of the moral imagination is to argue against one's own privilege and undermine it, if necessary, in the interest of justice. Irene Diamond is one of them. I'm simply going to read this wonderful citation. Irene? Storyteller, risk-taker, a woman who has always gone where few had gone before, Irene Diamond, you have made a career out of beating the odds. As a senior story editor in the film industry at a time when few women held the position, you discovered the property that became Casablanca, one of the great films of the 20th century. As a talent scout, you were instrumental in bringing two great actors, Robert Redford and Burt Lancaster, to Hollywood, for which we all thank you. For those achievements alone, generations of movie fans throughout the world are forever in your debt. We honor you today for your achievements as president of the Aaron Diamond Foundation, which you and your late husband established in the 1950s and which has gave away more than $220 million to philanthropic causes. Under your leadership, the foundation embarked on a major funding program and a 10-year payout that ended in December 1996. During that time, it distributed all of its assets, to hundreds of programs, mostly in New York City, in arts and culture, medical research, minority education, human rights, and civil liberties. The Foundation's emphasis on medical research made it the nation's largest private supporter of AIDS research. It also played a pivotal role in establishing the Aaron Diamond AIDS Research Center for the city of New York, which opened in 1991. In your newly organized personal giving program, the Irene Diamond Trust, you continue to support those causes close to your heart, including the Juilliard School, Young Concert Artists, the Film Society of Lincoln Center, and Human Rights Watch. For your trailblazing gifts to combat the scourge of AIDS and to educate the public about the disease, and for your lifelong commitment to the philanthropic ideals of Andrew Carnegie. The 21 institutions which he founded present the inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to you with pride and admiration.
First, I want to thank the Andrew Carnegie Foundation for this wonderful honor. It really means a lot to me. You know, nature can be the most powerful terrorist of all. Millions of people, as in the case of AIDS, millions of people, millions, are dying. The scientists could win the war against this terrible plague if all the governments, all the philanthropies, and all those who can afford it would give them the means which they so desperately need to fight it. Thank you.
There are few people more generous with their friendship and with the blessings of their lives than Walter and Lee Annenberg. I am personally blessed because for years they have shared their warmth and their caring with me. They are remarkable as individuals, and doubly so because they are a team. Unfortunately, Walter can't be with us today, but Lee is. Walter once said he married Lee because, I quote, "We thought alike, had the same goals, aspirations, and feelings, and we loved to do the same things." When I was preparing to present this award today, I asked for some material on the list of contributions that Walter and Lee have made throughout this country and abroad, and it's just staggering, the breadth of this, the size of it. An abridged summary of their philanthropy is 13 pages long. Here is just a small sample that I chose to show you the variety and breadth of their contributions. In the world of art, they have agreed to donate one of the most magnificent collections of Impressionist and post-Impressionist paintings, 53 paintings valued at $630 million, to the very fortunate Metropolitan Museum of Art. Some of their other donations include $164 million to public broadcasting, $50 million to the United Negro College Fund, $25 million to a Harvard University Student Scholarship Fund, $5 million to the Hebrew University in Jerusalem for scientific research, more millions to Oxford University, $30 million to Colonial Williamsburg, and on and on. But their most important contribution is their dedication and commitment to improving education in this country. And I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. I just want to read you some of Walter Annenberg's credits. Distinguished publisher. For many years, he was the publisher of the Bible in my industry, TV Guide. United States Ambassador to the Court of St. James. And if any of you have the opportunity to visit the residence of the American ambassador to Great Britain, you will see the most magnificent Chinese wallpaper in the garden room, which the Annenbergs brought to that residence, and it is there, and it's just exquisite. Founder of the Annenberg School for Communications at both the University of Pennsylvania and the University of Southern California, founder trustee of the Eisenhower Exchange Fellowships and the Eisenhower Medical Center, emeritus trustee of the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Petty School, among others. The Petty School was a small, not terribly well-known boarding school in Hightstown, New Jersey, and Walter went there and spent very happy years. Really, people didn't know too much about it. It wasn't, known the way some of the great boarding schools are. And one day, when he was going to school, he became very depressed by how poorly the football team was doing. And so, when he could, he gave the Petty School $120 million. They were absolutely stunned, but boy, you should see their football team. Walter has received so many honors and awards, including the National Medal of Arts and the Medal of Freedom. But perhaps the grant that gave him and Lee the most pleasure was this. Several years ago, Walter and Lee, with their belief that education is the ladder that can lift anyone up to the greatest heights, created the Annenberg Challenge Grant, the largest single gift ever made to American public education. This $500 million grant, which generated over $1 billion in matching funds, was designed to energize and support and replicate successful kindergarten through 12th grade reform programs, because they felt that it had to start with the very youngest. And like no other individual act by an American citizen, the Annenberg Challenge Grant, that program announced that education was the #1 priority of our country. And Vartan was very, very much involved in bringing it to fruition. Let me tell you a little bit about Lenore Lee, as we all know her, who is Walter's loving and devoted wife and his best friend and indeed his soulmate. Philanthropist, dedicated civic leader, patron of the arts, ambassador for all that embodies the spirit of America, working side by side with your husband of 50 years, Lenore Lee. You have served and continue to serve with distinction on the boards of some of this country's most important institutions: the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Philadelphia Orchestra, the University of Pittsburgh, and of course the Annenberg Foundation. When Walter was U.S. Ambassador to Great Britain, Lee brought taste and elegance with her when she came to Great Britain. And later in Washington, Lee served her country with the same grace and diplomacy as Chief of Protocol with the rank of Ambassador. Lee Annenberg has been recognized here and abroad with awards from the governments of Italy and Netherlands. And for Great Britain, she created the American Friends of Covent Garden. And for the United States, she worked tirelessly on the Committee for the Preservation of the White House. And Lee continues to give generous grants to a great variety of cultural and educational opportunities. I'm not going to read the entire list from the actual award, which is this long. So I will just say, having given you just a small sample of the kind of deeds and the way these two people have dedicated both of their lives for all you have done, Lee and Walter, for your fellow citizens of the United States and the world, the 21 institutions created by Andrew Carnegie present the inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to you and Walter. It is my enormous honor and to present it to you with pride and admiration.
Barbara, thank you for that most gracious introduction. I'm truly overwhelmed. Barbara's been a dear friend of ours for a long time, and I was very proud that she was willing to make this introduction. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be here with my distinguished fellow philanthropists, friends, and family. But I have to take a moment to express my gratitude to our dear friend Vartan. Vartan, you are a superb educator, a wonderful human being, and an inspiration to Walter and me. On behalf of my beloved husband, who sadly could not be here, I am deeply honored and privileged to accept the Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy. We are delighted to receive this most prestigious inaugural award and to be in the company of so many who share our love of country and our hopes for the betterment of our society. I cannot help but think that Andrew Carnegie, who loved his country and felt passionately that private wealth should be dedicated to the public good, would be pleased to look around this room today and realize that his vision lives on. As many of you know, Walter and I believe that education is the foundation of a democratic society. When asked what motivated his philanthropic work, my husband responded with a very powerful statement. I regard my philanthropic work as an investment in the future of America. It is the most effective way I can serve my country and help to ensure its benefits for the next generation. And by his doing that, it has made me realize that as his partner of 50 years, I too have been able to participate. During these difficult times in our nation's history, how very blessed and fortunate we are to live in this great country. And I'd like to thank all of you for being here today to honor philanthropic service, its accomplishments, and its future prospects. Thank you very much.
As one of Scottish descent, I would like to thank and commend the people of the Carnegie Corporation who, in planning this lunch, resisted the temptation to serve haggis. I would also like to say that I am here speaking for the hundreds, thousands, the countless numbers of writers, historians, biographers, novelists, poets, who could not have done what they have done with their lives and their work without the benefit of this greatest of libraries in our greatest city. My research, my work on my first book and numbers since began here. And I know there are others here today, I see Gene Strauss, who can say the very same thing. Our indebtedness to this superb institution couldn't be greater. It's lifelong and it's deeply felt. We're also living in a time of deadly serious struggle with an enemy who believes in enforced ignorance. What better symbol of our true strengths as a nation than our public library system overall? When you walk through the portals of this or any public library, you're entering true democracy. You're entering freedom, the freedom to know, the freedom to read, and the freedom to expand your abilities and talents and your imagination in a limitless fashion. I remember before Vartan Gregorian and Mrs. Astor worked their miracle here, when this library was closed on Thursdays, closed on weekends, when the rooms were dingy and staff morale was extremely low. These two wonderful Americans rank very high among all writers, all scholars, as among the true heroes of our time. It's my honor today to present the award to Brooke Astor, who is, as I'm sure many of you know, an unequaled life force, a shining example of high-octane, great-hearted generosity. She was born into a military family in New Hampshire, raised in Washington, Hawaii, Panama, and China. She has published essays in magazines and newspapers. She has published her poetry in The New Yorker, among other places. Her autobiographical works include novels, and the latest was The Blossom on the Plum Tree in 1986. It is therefore with the utmost pleasure and feeling the great appropriateness of this moment to this wonderful room and all of this superb, miraculous library to award Brooke Astor an inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy, which reads as follows. As we celebrate the centennial of Andrew Carnegie's benefactions, we also salute you on your upcoming centennial. During your lifetime, you've embodied the spirit of New York City, its resilience, its dynamism, its passion, its glorious energy, and its faith in the future. We also celebrate the fact that you have always believed in democracy and excellence, and that they are not mutually exclusive, but rather the very foundation stones upon which our open society rests. You've seen New York City in good times and bad, but you've also seen it always reassert itself with pride, assurance, and confidence, just as you have done in your own lifetime. You are the First Lady of our city, not only in terms of taste and elegance, style, grace, but also in the realm of philanthropy. You have bridged the gap between the elite and the general populace, between the familiar and the esoteric, between hope and practicality. Today, almost every important institution and organization in our city, from the great to the small, bears your mark. For more than 40 years, the philanthropy of the Astor Foundation, as well as your personal giving and generosity, have enriched New York City and the nation as well. You have given more than $200 million to institutions ranging from the New York Public Library to the New York Zoological Society, the New York Botanical Garden, the Pierpont Morgan Library, the South Street Seaport, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Carnegie Hall, and countless others. And you have given with grace and an openness of heart that has set the standard for both obligation and philanthropic largesse. Like Andrew Carnegie, you have always believed that much is expected from those to whom much has been given. If Andrew Carnegie were with us today, he would thank you personally for your unswerving commitment to the public good, for spreading hope and goodwill throughout our city, for rewarding excellence, and for responding with great charity when you saw great need. And as your centennial approaches, Mr. Carnegie would also want to congratulate you sincerely with deep appreciation for the inspiration that your philanthropy has brought to countless numbers of your fellow citizens. For all this and more, the 21 institutions founded by Andrew Carnegie present the inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to you with pride and admiration.
My family used to say to me, "Brooke, don't get beyond yourself." And I think I am. I'm beyond myself in two ways. The first I'm counting today is all of you being so nice to me, to listen to me. I have practically nothing to say. And the other that I'm frankly alive, because in in another month and a half, I'll be 100 years old. And so that's... my mother used to say to me, "Don't get beyond yourself." So I say, but I certainly have in more ways than one. One of them being particularly is I was an only child, and I got both my father, who was very sensible, and my mother, who was insensible. And being the only child, I got both of them wanting to be after themselves, after me to be after themselves. So here I am, a very mixed-up person, but who's had a wonderful life and also hard life at times. But I really had a very, very good life. I had one when I was young, married. I was married very young. And I'm against my father and mother, but all for my grandmother. My grandfather, I married a perfectly terrible man. And I married at 16, and there was mother got like them. They were not really what we call interesting people, but they had a lot of money. And so I was pushed into marriage, and in those days I thought if a man kissed you, a baby popped out of you. I didn't know what it was all about. So I started my life that way, and so here I am at almost 90 years old, just 2 weeks from being 90 years old, and I've gone along, and I've had a wonderful life, and I've had a bad life. I've had gone through all sort of mixed up things, but then, you know, life is true that way, and you can't expect to have it good all the time, and you have to give a lot of yourself, and think not only of yourself, but think how you, the person you were talking to would be, if you could do hurt them. No, don't hurt them. Try to always help them, everybody. And if they're absolutely nuts and stupid, well, stay away from them. I'm thinking, you say I've said enough?
No, I do not want you to fall, that's all.
What? All right, I won't say any more. They think I've said enough. So thank you very much.
By the age of 44, and that was just 2 years ago, the younger Bill Gates had created the world's largest philanthropic foundation. But we all know that Bill would literally be nowhere without his parents, who have had a lot to do with his superior bandwidth and his appreciation of charity and philanthropy. His late mother, Mary, was a school teacher, a University of Washington regent, and chairwoman of the United Way International. And judging from Bill Sr.'s incredible record of community service, he has a problem saying no to any good cause, including his sons. As you all know, Bill Gates Sr. is a true Washington State person. After serving 3 years in the Army, he earned his undergraduate and law degrees at the University of Washington and co-founded one of Seattle's largest law firms, Preston, Gates, and Ellis, and has served as president of both the city and the state bar associations. The extraordinary spirit, seriousness of purpose, and commitment of Bill Gates Sr. permeates the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. As a health professional, I have seen firsthand the extraordinary impact that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has had on global health and on education. Although Bill and Melinda Gates cannot be with us today, it is my great pleasure to introduce a person whom I respect greatly, Bill Gates Sr., and to read the citation presenting the Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to Bill and to Bill and Melinda Gates. And I'll read the citation. Inspiration, imagination, innovation, integrity, invention, individualism, independence. These are the hallmarks of the Gates family. William H. Gates Sr., drawing on your decades of experience as an attorney and as a trustee, officer, and volunteer for more than 24 Pacific Northwest organizations, you have been instrumental in providing guidance and helping to develop strategic direction for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It is your example of generosity and selfish giving, your love of community and of literacy, and your dedication to the progress of our nation that have inspired your son and your daughter-in-law to follow in your footsteps and become generous and deeply caring philanthropists whose largesse benefits not only our own nation, but many others around the world. Today we honor you as co-chair and CEO of the foundation, but we also honor you and Bill and Melinda Gates as well for your faith in Andrew Carnegie's Gospel of Wealth and for celebrating it as a true clarion call to those who have great resources, urging them to use their wealth in the service of humanity. And this all three of you have certainly done. Indeed, Bill and Melinda, despite the pressures of shepherding one of the world's leading companies, have had the wisdom and foresight to understand that their true legacy will arise from the great good they have done and will do as philanthropists, working to help develop and deploy life-saving vaccines, ease human suffering by improving global health equity, and to promote education and learning on a worldwide basis. It is a testament to the Gates family and their dedication to the ideals of philanthropy that the Gates Foundation has become one of the largest and most important foundations in the world today. Your far-ranging philanthropy encompasses the extraordinary and innovative library program, which is committed to bringing computers with internet access to every public library servicing a low-income community in the United States and Canada. States, cities, and provinces that stretch from the Yukon Territory to Texas and from New York to California have received computers and thus far access to information for more than 140 million people, almost half the population of North America. The International Library Program has similar goals, striving to close the digital divide for all the people of the world. Surely, if Andrew Carnegie were with us today, he would be the first to applaud this new chapter in the cause that was perhaps dearest to his heart, the development and proliferation of libraries as the true schoolroom of the world, open to everyone. For the leadership of the Gates family in reaffirming an ethic of responsibility to the global community, and for your landmark efforts to promote health equity around the world, to help all students achieve and to bridge the digital divide, the 21 institutions founded by Andrew Carnegie present the inaugural Andrew Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy to you with pride and admiration.
Thank you and good afternoon. Dr. Fauci, thank you very much for that nice introduction. It's been a privilege to work with you and your colleagues. You know, I expect you've all had occasion to say, tough act to follow. How about 13 tough acts, including one that suggested you all go home? On behalf of my family, I am indeed grateful to the Carnegie Corporation. I'm very happy to be here to thank you on behalf of my family for this award. I would like to recognize that present in the audience is Foundation President Patty Stonecipher at Table 10. Her leadership has been central to whatever success we have had in creating change. Vartan, thank you. You should really be receiving this award, not handing it out. Your lifelong commitment to philanthropy and your tireless efforts to help others have been an inspiration to all of us, and thank you for that. Receiving this award is indeed a great honor, especially coming from an organization that has done so very much to promote philanthropy and to focus attention on the important issues of the day. As a result of Carnegie's distinguished history, its name has become synonymous with philanthropy in this country. They lead by example, and I speak for everyone at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation when I say that we are very proud to follow in your footsteps. And happy centennial as well. To my fellow honorees, Ambassador and Mrs. Annenberg, Mrs. Astor, Mrs. Diamond, Mr. Rockefeller, Mr. Soros, Mr. Turner, it's an honor to be identified with this distinguished group. All of these honorees have a vision of how to make the world a better place. We believe that foremost among man's challenges is the egregious disparity between health care in the developing world and health care in the developed world. At the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we believe that childhood vaccines should be a right, not a privilege, and should not matter where a child is born. Our vision is a world where no child dies of a preventable disease. I'm very proud to be a part of what our team is working to accomplish. I can assure you, I am one really proud father. I regret that his mother did not live for this day. On behalf of my family and the foundation, thank you all.
Congratulations to you, to Mr. Gates. Just a quick final word. Centennial congratulations to 3 in the Carnegie family, the Carnegie Institution of Washington, Carnegie Mellon University, and the Carnegie Trust of Scotland, Scottish universities. As we ask all of our honorees to stand and accept our heartfelt gratitude, may we all go forward with the same spirit of generosity embodied in these extraordinary awardees. Please join me in one final congratulations.